broken wings on the highway. The night was cold and quiet on the lonely highway outside the small town of Red Pine. A soft wind blew dust across the road, and the moon hung low in the sky like a silent eye watching the earth below. Then, without warning, a bright flash tore through the sky. A streak of fire crashed into the nearby hills, shaking the ground. Birds scattered, animals ran. But no one saw it. No one, except a broken pickup truck that rumbled slowly toward the sound. Inside that fireball was something not from Earth. An escape pod, damaged and smoking, hit the dirt hard and bounced, rolling like a crushed can. The hatch blew open and a slender, glowing figure tumbled out, landing on the cold ground with a thud. She was not human. Her skin shimmered like silver. Her hair was soft and blue like melted ice. Her long arms shook as she tried to crawl. One leg was broken. Blood, dark purple, dripped from her forehead. Her breathing was weak, sharp. She whispered in her language, "No, not again. Please, not again." She stood up slowly, limping toward the road. Lights appeared in the distance. Headlights. Pickup truck. She raised one shaking arm, her glowing fingers trying to signal for help. But the truck didn't stop. The man behind the wheel, young, drunk, scared, saw her too late. Bang. The truck hit her and kept going. Tires screeched. The man looked back in the mirror, panicked, then pressed harder on the gas. "What the hell was that?" he shouted to himself, but he didn't stop. "I ain't going to jail for no freak." The alien woman lay broken on the side of the road, gasping. Her body glowed dimly now. Her vision blurred. She reached out, one last time before her arm dropped. The wind blew her silver hair across her face. She was alone, left behind. But the story didn't end there. 15 minutes later, another pickup truck drove down the same road. This one was older, slower. Inside was a human man named Daniel Carter, a mechanic from Red Pine. He wasn't rich, he wasn't strong, but he had something the first man didn't, a heart that cared. Daniel's eyes widened when he saw the strange figure lying beside the road. He hit the brakes and pulled over. "What in the world?" he whispered, jumping out. He ran to her, sighed. At first he thought it was a girl in a costume, but as he got closer, he saw the truth. She was real. Her skin shimmered softly in the moonlight. Her blood was not red. Her breathing was shallow. Her bones looked sharp under her glowing skin, but she looked terrified. Daniel slowly knelt beside her. Hey, you alive? Can you hear me?" he said gently. She flinched, weakly opening her eyes. He noticed how her hand moved protectively over her chest, like she was guarding something. "I'm not gonna hurt you," he said, raising both hands to show peace. "You're hurt. I gotta get you out of here." She didn't understand his words, but his voice was soft. Not like the shouting voices she remembered. Not like the cruel ones. His hand reached out, and instead of pulling her, he wrapped his jacket around her body. She tried to speak. Human. Not safe. I run." Daniel blinked. "You speak? You're running from something?" Her eyes filled with tears. "They chase. They break me." That was enough for Daniel. "All right. No time to waste." He picked her up gently. She was lighter than she looked. Her body felt warm, but her breathing was fading fast. He laid her across the seat of his truck and drove back toward his cabin deep in the woods. Every few seconds, he looked over at her. Her head rested on the seat, face calm but weak. He didn't know who she was or what she was, but he couldn't leave her. "I don't care what planet you're from," he whispered. "Nobody deserves to be left in the dirt like that." Back, in the hills far above the crash site, a small alien drone clicked to life. It scanned the area, picking up heat signals, and locked onto the old pickup truck driving away. Target acquired. The hunt had begun. But for now, in the quiet dark of Earth's night, a human had done something no one else dared to do. He had stopped. He had helped And everything was about to change. She doesn't trust him, but has no choice. Kira woke to the sound of strange beeping and soft humming. Her body ached all over. Her leg burned with sharp pain. Her head spun. But the worst part? She didn't know where she was. She was inside a warm room. A soft blanket covered her. Strange machines blinked near her side, and something metallic was gently pressing against her leg. It was fixed, bandaged and braced. Her wounds were cleaned. The pain was there, yes, but it was no longer killing her. She panicked. With a sudden gasp, she sat up, eyes wide, heart racing. Where was she? Who touched her? Where were the hunters? A human voice spoke from the corner. You're awake. She turned quickly, groaning in pain. Her arms lit up faintly with glowing blue energy, ready to defend. But it was him, the man from the road, the human with kind eyes. Daniel stood across the room, hands raised in peace, holding a steaming cup of tea. His eyes were tired, like he hadn't slept all night. His clothes were dirty from oil and blood, but he looked calm, gentle. I didn't know if you'd survive, he said, taking a step forward. You've been out for hours. She watched him closely, breathing hard, not saying anything. I cleaned your wounds. I didn't touch anything I shouldn't, he added quickly, trying not to offend her. Kira narrowed her eyes. Why was he helping her? No one helped her. Not her people, not the soldiers, not the men who captured her and tested her like a lab creature. She didn't trust kindness. It always had a price. Her voice cracked. Why, help? Daniel placed the cup down near her bed. Because you needed it, he said softly. That's it. She looked down. Her fingers trembled slightly. No hurt? Me? Daniel shook his head. No, never. She relaxed, just a little. But not completely. She could still feel the tracker inside her arm. If the hunters were close, they'd find her. And if they found her near this human, he'd die too. She lowered her eyes and whispered, I should go. Daniel frowned. You can't even walk. You try to leave now, you'll die out there. I rather die than bring danger to you. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. Then he sat down across from her, leaning forward on his knees. You crash-landed here, didn't you? He asked. She nodded slowly. You running from someone? Another nod. You think they'll come looking for you? This time, she looked away. I don't know what kind of monsters are chasing you, Daniel said, voice firm now. But if they're hunting you like a dog, then maybe they're the ones who deserve to be afraid. She blinked. Her silver eyes widened just a little. No one had ever said that before. No one ever spoke like that. Her voice softened. You strange human, Daniel chuckled. Been told that before. She studied his face. He wasn't scared of her glowing skin or strange voice. He didn't flinch at her sharp nails or the low hum of energy she gave off when nervous. He just stayed. Name? She asked quietly. Daniel. She nodded. I am Kira Lan. Daniel tried to repeat it but fumbled. Kira? Lan? That right? Her lips twitched slightly. It was almost a smile. Yes. The moment was soft, almost peaceful. But it didn't last. Suddenly, a loud ping echoed through the small cabin. Daniel stood quickly and looked at the screen on the wall. It was an old security feed from outside. A red dot was blinking in the distance, something flying above the woods. What is that? He asked. Kira's face turned cold. Her eyes darkened. They found me. Daniel stared at her. What do we do? She forced herself to stand, shaking. We hide. Now. He helped her up. She leaned on him, her energy pulsing faintly. I'm not leaving you, he whispered. Kira looked at him, surprised again. Even if they come? Even if they burn down the sky, he said. For the first time in her life, Kira felt something strange, safe. But danger was coming fast, and the real test of trust was just beginning. Her wounds go. Deeper than flesh, Daniel's small wooden cabin stood quiet on the outside, but inside a storm was growing. Kira sat on the old couch, wrapped in a soft blanket, her glowing fingers gripping the fabric tightly. She stared at the fireplace, the flames dancing in her silver eyes, but her thoughts were far away, back on her world, back in the labs. Daniel was nearby, checking an old shotgun and peeking through the curtains. The drone had vanished, but both of them knew it would return. Or worse, something bigger. "You don't have to tell me," Daniel said gently, not looking at her. "But if you need to say something, I'm here." She didn't reply. Not right away. Then after a long silence, her voice came like a whisper. "They made me a weapon." Daniel turned to her slowly. She wasn't looking at him. She kept her eyes on the fire. "My body," she said, "was chosen, changed. I was born with rare blood. My energy can destroy machines, bend light, even stop time. But they didn't see a girl. They saw power." Daniel sat down across from her. He didn't speak. He didn't interrupt. "They kept me in cold rooms, ran tests, painful ones, every day. They told me I was lucky to serve, lucky to suffer, but I wanted to live, just live." Her hands were shaking now. Tears formed in her silver eyes, trailing down her cheek like liquid light. "I escaped," she said. "Stole a pod, crashed here. I knew if they caught me again, they'd finish the experiments or erase me." Daniel leaned forward. "You didn't deserve that." She looked at him finally. "Why do you care?" He paused. "Because you're alive. You're not a thing. You're not a lab tool. You're Kira." Her lips parted slightly. That was the first time someone had spoken her name softly, without fear, without control. A sudden rumble outside shook the cabin lightly. Kira's eyes flashed. "They're near." Daniel grabbed his shotgun and walked toward the back door. "If they want you, they'll have to come through me." Kira stood up weakly. "You'll die. Their weapons melt steel." "I've worked with metal my whole life," he replied, gripping the gun tighter. "But you? You fixed my broken world the moment I picked you up." Kira walked to him slowly. "I don't want you to fight for me." "I'm not just fighting for you," he said. "I'm fighting for what's right." Her heart, if it could be called that, beat faster. "I'm tired of running," she whispered. "But I'm more tired of being alone." Outside, another soft beep. The sky had a faint green glow. They both saw it through the window. Kira stepped outside onto the porch. Daniel followed. In the distance, a small alien scout ship hovered just above the treetops. A searchlight scanned the ground. Kira's hands glowed softly. "I can block the signal," she said. "But it will hurt." "Then we share the pain," Daniel said. She looked at him, surprised again by his words. She raised both arms. Light began to pulse from her skin, blue, violet, silver. The air around them shimmered. Leaves shook. The ship's light blinked, then went out. Smoke rose from the drone. It dropped from the sky like a dead bird crashing into the trees. Kira gasped, falling to her knees. Daniel rushed to her side. "You okay?" She nodded slowly. "Just weak. It drains me." He helped her back into the cabin. This time she didn't resist. She leaned against him, trusting him. Her head rested against his chest for a moment. "You saved me," he said, again. She looked up. "You saved me first." The room was quiet now, safe for the moment. But both of them knew more would come. As Kira lay back on the couch, Daniel lit the lanterns and pulled a chair close. He stayed nearby, guarding her while she slept. For the first time in years, she closed her eyes without fear. Not every wound was on the body. Some were deep inside. But tonight, just for tonight, one of those wounds began to heal. The hunter's close. In the forest around the cabin looked peaceful under the moonlight. but Kiralan could feel it in her bones. They were close. Inside the cabin, the fire had died down. Daniel was working quietly at the kitchen counter, using scrap metal and wires to fix a small sensor. Kira sat on the floor beside the couch, her knees pulled up to her chest. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin, once softly glowing, now dimmed, like a fading star. "I can sense them," she whispered. Daniel didn't look up. "How close?" "They're in the trees, listening, waiting." Daniel nodded, his jaw tightened. "Then we prepare." Kira blinked at him. "You're not running?" "No," he said. "They come near this house, they'll learn what Earthmen are made of." She stared at him, heart confused. "Even knowing they might kill you?" He finally looked up, meeting her eyes. "Kira, you're the first reason I've had to fight for something in a long time." For a moment, she forgot the fear, forgot the pain, just stared at the human who spoke like no one ever had. Then it began, a faint humming in the distance. Not mechanical, not like Earth machines. This was alien tech, quiet, sharp, and full of death. Kira stood up quickly, grabbing the edge of the couch to steady herself. "They brought seekers." Daniel ran to the back door and grabbed his coat. "And tools." "Seekers?" She nodded. "Half-alive drones. They track energy, especially mine. Once they lock, they call in the hunters." Daniel walked to a shelf and pulled out a heavy metal case. Inside were old grenades and EMP devices from his army. Days. "Then we stop them before they call." Kira was shocked. "You were a soldier?" "Once," Daniel said. "But I got tired of following orders that didn't make sense. Now I protect what matters." Kira stepped beside him. "Then, let me help." She raised her hand. A pulse of soft energy flickered from her fingers, floating like dust in the air. It moved toward the front window, creating a small invisible shield. "It won't stop everything," she said, "but it'll give us time." They both froze when they heard a click outside. A small black creature the size of a dog stood near the porch. Its legs were long and thin. Its face was a blank screen with blinking red dots. One of the seekers. Daniel reached slowly for the EMP grenade. Kira gripped his arm. "No. Wait." The seeker tilted its head, listening. Then it moved. "Toward the door," Daniel whispered. "Now?" She nodded. He pulled the pin and threw the device. It rolled to the porch. A blast of blue energy shot out with a pop. The seeker screamed, a high-pitched electric cry, and collapsed, twitching. But it was too late. "They pinged us," Kira said, her voice shaking. "The hunters are coming." A roar echoed from the hills. Not a ship, not a machine. Something alive. Daniel looked confused. "What the hell was that?" "They brought a reaver beast," Kira whispered. Daniel stepped back. "What is that?" "Something they only use when they want to make sure nothing survives." Outside, branches broke. Heavy footsteps crushed trees. The reaver was coming. Daniel grabbed Kira's hand. "We have to go, now." She hesitated. "They'll track me wherever I go. I'm the reason." "They're here." Daniel squeezed her hand. "And I'm not letting them take you." They rushed out the back into the woods, flashlight swinging. Behind them, the trees exploded with sound. The reaver charged through the forest, massive, armored, breathing steam from its snout. Its body was a twisted fusion of muscle and tech, covered in glowing red lines. It moved like a tank, but sniffed like a predator. It smelled her energy. It wanted her. They ran through thick brush. Daniel led her down a slope toward an old mining shaft he remembered from childhood. "In here," he yelled. They dove into the dark tunnel, breathing hard. Inside it was silent, just the echo of their gasps. Kira leaned against the wall. "We can't outrun that thing." Daniel turned on a portable sensor and placed it by the entrance. "Then we don't run. We set a trap." Kira looked at him. He gave a small smile. "You said you could bend energy, right?" "Yes." but not much left. Just enough, he said. I'll lead it inside. You seal the entrance behind it. That's suicide. Daniel winked. Only if it catches me. She stared at him, eyes wide. Why do you care so much? Because someone finally made me feel alive again, he said. Now let me return the favor. Outside, the Reaver sniffed the air. 1 minute, maybe less, and the real fight would begin. A fight. He shouldn't survive. The Reaver beast stood at the edge of the mine's mouth, its glowing red sensors scanning the dark. Its breath hissed through metal vents, its muscles twitching like coiled cables. It had locked onto the scent of alien energy, and it would not stop until the source was dead or captured. Inside the shaft, Daniel held his breath. Kira crouched behind a wall of broken stone, her skin dimly glowing. She was weak, her power low. But Daniel had a plan, and she hated it. You go right, I'll take left, he whispered. No, she replied, voice firm. You don't understand. That thing isn't just a beast. It's part machine. It adapts to weapons. Daniel grinned. Good thing I brought tools. He held up a small canister, homemade explosive packed with alien scrap from her crashed pod. Where did you? Your ship left a few gifts. I fixed them up. Not pretty, but if it doesn't kill it, it'll slow it down. Kira stared at him. You should not do this. You are human, fragile. Daniel chuckled. Thanks for the vote of confidence. No, I mean... She paused, heart thudding. If you die, it will break something inside me. The smile faded from Daniel's face. His eyes softened. Then I guess I better not die. He stood up and ran. Kira almost called him back, but it was too late. Daniel dashed across the shaft, yelling and throwing a rock to draw the Reaver's attention. It worked. The monster roared, shaking the tunnel, and charged after him. Dust rained from the ceiling. The earth trembled. Daniel reached the other end of the tunnel and ducked behind a collapsed wooden support beam. The Reaver came crashing through, slamming its thick limbs into the ground, sending rocks flying. Daniel waited for it to move closer. 5 feet. 4. 3. Come on, he whispered, pressing the detonator trigger. Suddenly, click. Nothing. The explosive didn't go off. Daniel's eyes widened. Oh no. The Reaver's head snapped toward him, its mouth opened, rows of metal fangs shining. Then, boom! The wall behind the beast exploded with a pulse of blue light. Kira stood there, one arm glowing white-hot, eyes lit with fire. She had used the last of her energy to overload the entrance itself. Rocks tumbled. The ceiling shook. The Reaver stumbled. Back, caught in the blast. Daniel leapt away just in time as the ceiling collapsed behind him, sealing the Reaver inside the chamber. Silence fell. Smoke. Dust. And then, Kira collapsed. No! Daniel shouted, catching her before she hit the ground. Her body was burning with internal energy. Small sparks flickered across her skin. She was barely conscious. He carried her outside, through the narrow escape path he had found earlier in case things went bad. Once outside under the stars, he laid her gently on the ground. Kira? Hey, Kira. She opened her eyes weakly. You didn't leave me. I told you I wouldn't, he said, brushing dirt from her face. I used too much power, she said. Heart slowing. Daniel looked around. You need help. You need something medical. Anything. She raised a trembling hand and touched his chest. There is one way. What? She reached into the pocket of her torn uniform and pulled out a glowing crystal shard. This, memory stone. It has healing codes, but it only works if I share it. Daniel frowned. Share it how? She looked into his eyes. I must bind it to your life, to your soul. Daniel blinked. You're saying I'd feel what you feel? If you die, we both die, she finished. He paused, Then without hesitation, he nodded. Do it. Her eyes filled with light. You don't even know what you're agreeing to, she whispered. I know enough, he said. You're not going to die alone. Kira pressed the crystal to her chest, then to his. A surge of warmth spread through them both. Light wrapped around their hearts. Their minds touched briefly like two winds colliding in space. Then the light faded. Her breathing slowed but steadied. Her body calmed. Daniel felt something in his chest. Something new. A rhythm, not his own. A connection, silent and invisible, but strong. Kira opened her eyes and smiled. You're insane, she said weakly. Yeah, he replied, but now we're insane together. In the sky above, alien ships were still searching, but down below something had changed. Not just a rescue, not just survival. A bond was formed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The world must not find out. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting gold light across the trees. Birds sang. The wind was gentle. It looked like a peaceful morning, but peace was a lie. Inside Daniel's cabin, Kira lay on the couch, eyes closed, breathing steady. She was healing, but very slowly. The bond had saved her. Now part of Daniel's life force kept her alive. Daniel stood by the window, staring at a strange, flickering light in the distance. It was a drone. Not alien. Earth tech. Someone had noticed the explosion. Someone had seen the flash of alien energy the night before. Daniel cursed under his breath. He turned to Kira. We have a new problem. She opened her eyes slowly. I feel them. Watching. He nodded. Government. Maybe. Military. Or private companies, doesn't matter. If they find you, they'll do what my people did, she said softly. Study. Cut. Use. Daniel's jaw tightened. Not while I'm breathing. He quickly pulled the blankets around her and handed her a loose hoodie. We need to move. Now. Where? I know a place. An old storm shelter my grandfather built. It's off-grid. No signals, no metal, it's safe. Kira hesitated. I'm weak. I'll slow you down. I'll carry you if I have to. She stared at him for a long moment. Why do you keep risking everything for me? He looked right into her silver eyes. Because you're not a thing to be hidden. You're someone who deserves to be free. She nodded. No more words. Daniel packed fast. Just food, water, tools, and the glowing memory shard. He left everything else behind. His home. His life. As they slipped into the forest trails, the hum of drones echoed through the trees. But Daniel knew every path, every turn. He took her deep, deeper than any map showed. After an hour, they reached the hidden bunker. It was buried under rock and covered with vines. No cameras, no satellites could see it. Inside, it was small but safe. Dim lights flickered on as Daniel cranked the generator. Kira collapsed onto the old cot, her chest rising and falling. Daniel sat beside her. We'll rest here tonight, then decide our next move. Kira looked around. How long can we stay hidden? Not long, he admitted. They'll search harder every day, and if the aliens come back, they will, she said. I felt the signal pulse. They know I'm alive. Daniel ran a hand through his hair. Then we need a plan, something big. She looked at him, confused. Plan? He stood up, pacing. What if we made them think you're dead? Not just hiding. Gone. Kira sat, up slowly. But how? We fake it. Make it look like your body broke down from energy overload. Leave false readings. Burn the forest with your shard's energy. She blinked. That might work. Daniel continued, eyes sharp now. We broadcast a death signal. A message in your language. Let them hear it. Let everyone believe you're no longer a threat. Kira gave a weak smile. You really are strange, but clever. He sat beside her again. And after that you can live, not just hide. Start over. Where? She asked. Daniel paused. Anywhere. As long as I'm with you. Her cheeks glowed softly. No one's ever fought for me like this, she whispered. Not even my own kind. Then maybe humans aren't as soft as they thought, Daniel replied. Just then a loud bang shook the trees above them. Dirt fell from the ceiling. Daniel grabbed his flashlight and rushed outside. A drone had exploded on the hillside. Someone else had found the trail. But this one didn't belong to Earth's government or the aliens. It had no markings, just a single symbol carved into its shell. A golden eye. Daniel brought the remains inside and showed Kira. She stared at it. Her hands trembled. I know that mark, she whispered. It's not a government, it's a collector. A what? There are beings in the galaxy who collect rare lives they don't kill. They own. And I'm one of their prizes. Daniel's face turned pale. So this isn't just about running anymore. No, Kira said. Now we're hunted by something worse. He took her hand. Then we don't hide, he said. We fight. Kira's eyes sparkled with new strength. Together? Always. Outside, the forest was still, but the war had just begun. A new name, a new life. The forest slept under the soft cover of fog. In the distance, the mountain birds called out to the morning sun. Below the roots, hidden deep inside the earth, the old bunker was quiet. But inside it, a miracle was happening. Kira Lan stood on her feet again. Her body, once weak and flickering, now glowed gently. Not bright like before, but steady, like a calm fire that refused to go out. Her silver eyes watched Daniel as he tightened a bolt on the last piece of their plan. The fake transmitter. Almost done, he said, wiping his hands. Once I hit this switch, it'll send out your death signal across the galaxy. She nodded. They'll believe it, the frequency is correct. The energy spike will match my collapse. Daniel looked up. You sure you want to do this? Don't disappear, she said softly. They'll never stop. I'll never live free. You'll never be safe. Daniel sat beside her. Then let's make it count. He handed her a small device, her memory shard, now wired to the transmitter. You ready? He asked. Kira took a deep breath. Yes. She placed the shard inside and touched the center panel. A soft hum filled the room, followed by a deep pulse of energy. Then, the message began to play. It wasn't in English, but Daniel didn't need to understand the words. He saw it in her eyes. It was her goodbye. Her farewell to the galaxy. Her final lie. The device lit up one last time, then burst into blue fire. It burned hot, fast, and bright, just like Kira once did when they first met. Then it was gone. Silence returned. Daniel smiled. You're officially dead. She gave a small laugh. Strange feeling. But also, a fresh start. Kira looked at him. I can't go back to what I was. Even with this new freedom, I can't be Kira Lan anymore. He nodded, then picked something new, a name, a life. She thought for a moment. I want something soft, Earth-like, simple. Daniel chuckled. You're going native. She smiled. Maybe. Lonnie. It sounds like a part of who I was, but also something new. Lonnie, Daniel repeated. I like it. Just then a knock echoed through the bunker door. Daniel froze. No one was supposed to know this place. He pulled out his old shotgun and stepped toward the door. Stay here. Lonnie held her breath. He opened the door carefully and found a woman in a long black coat standing outside. She looked human, but her eyes, golden and sharp, were not. She smiled. Relax, Mr. Carter. If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't be standing. Daniel narrowed his eyes. Who are you? I'm just the messenger, she said. The collector sends regards. Behind her, a sleek black ship hovered in the trees, completely silent. Lonnie stepped forward. You followed the death signal. The woman nodded. Of course, but we know when someone fakes their death. The collector finds that amusing. Daniel raised the shotgun. Then what do you want? The woman's eyes flashed. You, human. He frowned. Me? You risked your life, gave your soul to save one of ours. You didn't kill. You didn't sell. You protected. She paused. That makes you valuable. Lonnie moved between them. You can't take him. But the woman smiled again. We don't want to take him. We want to reward him. Daniel lowered the weapon slowly. How? The woman handed him a small box. Inside is a key. Use it on any signal tower. Say your name. And help, real help, will come. Lonnie stepped forward. Why would the collector give us this? The woman turned to leave. Because even monsters respect courage. Then she was gone. The ship vanished like a shadow. Daniel opened the box and stared at the small glowing key inside. Lonnie touched his hand. What now? He looked at her and smiled. Now, we live in a quiet town far from Red Pine. A small auto repair shop buzzed with life. Daniel stood under a lifted truck covered in oil, laughing with a local kid. Tighten that bolt, then hand me the wrench. Nearby, a young woman with dark hair tied in a braid walked out with lemonade. Her skin shimmered faintly under the sun, but no one noticed. She wore sunglasses and a name tag. Lonnie. She handed him the glass. Break time. He winked. Yes, boss. She smiled. Not a forced smile. A real one. No chasers, no drones, no hiding, just a new life. Together, and somewhere deep in the stars, the collector watched and didn't interfere, because this time the human and the alien had chosen each other, and that made all the difference.